As communications service providers re-architect their networks, there are both technical and business implications. So how should we best prepare? Here to tell us in the Dell TI Now studio is Sandra Rivera. She's Vice President and General Manager of the Network Platforms Group at Intel. And Sandra, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We're actually wrapping up our day 2 here at TI 2016 Network of the Future right here in Dallas, Texas. So we can both go and have a drink after this.
That's good.
Or not, I don't know. Can I say that? Okay, so I want to talk about, talking about the network and really re-architecting that network. So this is that 80,000 foot question. How do you, on a technical level and on a business level, which is sort of your area, prepare for that major transformation?
Yeah. Well, so a lot of the time we've spent over the last several years has been on technology, feasibility studies, analyses, proof of concepts, and really proving that you could re-architect the network in a way that embraces much more of those principles of server volume economics, virtualization technologies, and cloud technologies and business models. I think a lot of that has now been proven that it can be done, so much of the focus now is on the implementation challenges and how and where to do it first, and then how do we scale. But many of the issues that we're finding are that the service providers really need to focus more on some of the internal challenges around business process reengineering, around cultural changes and skill sets of their organizations. And we do see companies like AT&T as an example, and John Donovan spoke about that this morning, about how you retrain your organization to really embrace much more of a software-centric approach to network architecture versus one that has been anchored much more in physical infrastructure. And you re-engineer your business processes to take advantage of that and to deploy solutions at the speed of software. And so we couple a lot of the technology innovation advances we've made with all of these business disruptions that are happening, and trying to accelerate that really is the recipe, if you will, for how you go faster.
Now I want to talk a little more specifically maybe about NFV implementation for service providers, maybe like NFV security, and you can choose whichever area you want, but NFV security seems to be an area of reticence for service providers on a number of levels, by the way. Can you give us an example of that reticence?
Well, I think if you look at having a much more distributed network, which of course brings a lot of benefits. You're moving compute and capabilities closer to the users, closer to the devices, closer to the endpoints. You're also then opening yourself up to more entry points for attacks. And so security does weigh heavily in terms of what the service providers and network operators think about and are concerned about. And by the way, that's not any different if you look at data center and cloud and everything that's happened in terms of the cloud infrastructure and the cloud service providers. But we see it on another scale with the communication service providers, given that they have such a distributed network. But the types of things that you can do to secure against that really are both in silicon, a lot of the innovations that we have, things like trusted execution technology, which lets you have a secure boot of the system and the platform, and then you layer on some elements on top of that, like things like geotagging, which allow you to really have that attestation that the workload, the application, does not leave a particular environment, a particular geography, a particular country. There are a lot of those types of innovations in both silicon and software that get exposed up through the software layers, all the way up through the management and orchestration layer that the service providers can take advantage of, that have been quite honed and proven in hyperscale cloud environments and broadly deployed in enterprise environments as well. So it's not as scary as it sounds. Clearly it weighs on the minds of the folks that are really driving reliability to the 5 nines level in a communication service provider network. But there are many tools and techniques that can really help overcome some of those challenges.
Now, Sandra, you and I both know there's no shortage of standards bodies in the network virtualization space. I believe you're very much part of OPNFE, and I was at that event, or at least the last one. And is there any conflicting opinions within these standards bodies, or is it more that they're trying to work together toward a common good?
I think it's definitely more of the latter. I think sometimes we position open standards or open source, and the truth is that there's a growing interdependence between those two. A great example of that is what's happened in ETSI. We know that the ETSI NFV ISG, the Industry Specification Group, was formed several years ago, really around the idea that they would create a set of requirements that the industry would then drive towards in terms of implementations and formal standards. What they've recently done with their management and orchestration effort has been to create an OSG, an open source specification group, because they recognize the need for an open standards approach to really work a lot more cohesively and collaboratively with open source projects. And I think that was a pretty innovative approach to saying, hey, it's not one or the other, it's actually both. And you see that type of innovation happening with other projects. OpenO, a project that China Mobile has just launched as part of a Linux Foundation project, again, trying to have management and orchestration that is addressed and where you have contributions from a broad set of industry players. And this is true with AT&T's eComp, and this is true with several of the different projects. I don't see us moving away from that. I actually see more of that happening over time as this growing interdependency and the need for perhaps moving forward with de facto standards that really are created in open source, and then moving those back into the formal standards processes over time.
Now, of course, Red Hat is TIA 2016's host sponsor. I noticed that you did a presentation with Red Hat earlier. What's the importance of really partnering with a company like that?
Well, Red Hat and Intel are jointly committed to open source, open standards, open ecosystems. Together, we are the #1 and the #2 contributor to the Linux kernel. We are the largest contributors to OpenStack as well, or two of the largest contributors to OpenStack. And then we have leadership positions in OPNFV, Open Daylight, our DPDK Optimize Open vSwitch project, and even some of the work that we're doing with Cisco and Ericsson and others in the FDIO project for high performance forwarding plane in networking platforms. I think that those types of partnerships with, of course, Red Hat are going to continue forward in the spirit and in the goal of accelerating the transformation that's happening in the network, and really lowering the barriers to entry and providing a set of tools and a set of platforms that you can have confidence are proven, are integrated, are tested, are ruggedized, so that we can shorten that time from, again, proof of concept, field trial, to what we see now is a growing number of actual commercial deployments. So we're very excited about our relationship with Red Hat, and we'll continue that partnership going forward.
Sandra, interesting stuff. By the way, thank you for being also a sponsor of TIA 2016, and you're also on the TIA board, by the way, so thank you for your contribution there. I heard the last board meeting went very well, and you contributed greatly. So thanks for being here. I know you have a very early flight in the morning. You probably want to get some sleep, but until next time, so thanks. Thanks for your time. All right, and thank you for joining us at TIA 2016 from the Dell TIA Now studio. For more coverage, please visit TINow.org. So long.